On Friday, October 15, 2010, SQV News met with Tony Michetti, Democratic candidate for the 108th District of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. We spoke at the Sunbury Area Democratic Party headquarters on Market Street in Sunbury.
I have a family. I have a wife and 3 children. My children are 4 years old, 2 years old, and only a couple months old. And I grew up in the 108th District. I lived all my life here, and when I had kids, I wanted to raise them in the 108th. But I want a better future for them than I see right now in the 108th District. I want a future for them where there's jobs, that there's a community that's proud of itself, and I think we need some changes. And in order to get those changes, to revitalize our local economy, allow our communities to thrive, we need someone who's a leader, someone who is willing to stand up and maybe not say the popular thing, but to at least advocate for it and try to make some changes, not only in Harrisburg, but within our local district. My experience as an attorney would be useful for the citizens of the 108th District in the following ways. One, as an attorney, I've learned to advocate for those individuals who don't have a voice or may not be able to assertively use their voice. And I think an attorney has a skill that allows them to advocate for the people who need to be advocated for. Secondly, in my line of work, I've done some criminal defense work. I've been appointed to defend indigent clients. So I've seen the population within the 108th and the growing criminal element as well within the 108th District, and I attribute that directly to the depressed economy and lack of jobs. So I have an understanding as to the demographics of the district and how the different factors around the district adversely impact our area. I also think an attorney is a vital asset as well to understanding the Constitution, crafting laws. I believe that the recession has impacted our community. We've seen a growing number of unemployed individuals. I do agree with your question in the sense that we were insulated somewhat from the initial hit from the recession, but the reason we were insulated is because we already were losing jobs, outsource of jobs, and as you look around the 108th, we've lost a lot of industry long before the recession hit. And what can be done to address that is we need to refocus our commitment on infrastructure. Roads, bridges, community college, education. These are areas of infrastructure that I think that if we focused on, it would not only stimulate job growth, but is sustainable as well. Community college through workforce development, job retraining, would not only create a tax base, but also retain these young individuals within the community. We focus on the Greater Susquehanna Valley Thruway as an infrastructure project that would be an attraction to industry relocating to the area because we're only a short distance from major metropolitan areas, New York, Philly, D.C. Well, the top issue, of course, is jobs. I mean, everywhere I go door to door or out at forums, jobs is the #1 concern. Where am I going to get my next paycheck? Will there be even a job there tomorrow? So I think that's the top issue. And I think that directly relates, though, to one of the second issues I think is important, and that's legislative reform. These career politicians never have to worry about where a paycheck's coming from or their health insurance, or even if they have a job. And so I think legislative reform is key to Pennsylvania, decreasing the size of the legislature, looking at term limits, diminishing lobbyist control, returning to a citizen-based legislature, and then the money that's wasted on our the size of our legislature, not only the size of the legislators themselves, but also the staff size, could be better used for focusing on infrastructure projects to create job growth. So number one, jobs. Number two, legislative reform. And number three, currently, one of the largest issues is the Marcellus Shale tax issue. I strongly believe we need a severance tax. Severance taxes in every other state on natural gas. And in Pennsylvania, it's particularly important. We have one of the largest Marcellus Shale deposits. And we're going to be depleting our natural resources for the benefit of New Yorkers or people in Washington, D.C. And so they're going to get the benefit for our resource, but yet Pennsylvanians will ultimately pay in the end because of damage to our environment, roads, and bridges. So I think a severance tax is important not only to fund local municipalities, but also to offset the deficit we're facing in the general budget, and also use some of that money for job force retraining, workforce development, and continue to fund environmental agencies. Essentially, what we need is a constitutional convention in order to change the way Harrisburg works. I understand that, legislators themselves could craft amendments to try to deal with the reforms for all of the issues that were laid out in the grand jury report. But having career politicians pass reforms typically are more symbolic than meaningful. The process is broken. When you look at the caucuses, the amount of money that's being spent on staff, the salaries, benefits for their health care and pensions, as well as for the legislators themselves, these are issues that definitely need to be corrected. We're about to face a redistricting, and you look at how the redistricting takes place, it's political. We need an independent, bipartisan panel to do the redistricting, not I'll put this in the hands of these career politicians. And again, that all goes back to what we need is a constitutional convention, get the people then to decide what the reform should be. I mean, when I'm going door to door or at these forum groups, I think people see that I represent the interests of the common man, the constituents of the 108th, the workers, the farmers. I mean, these are the people who I would represent. The issues that I've campaigned on cross all party lines: government reform, focusing on infrastructure, Marcellus Shale regulation, and severance tax. And I understand the sentiment at the national level, and almost a general feeling of frustration or disgust at the way politics is being handled. When I'm going door to door, I hear a lot of people saying the system is broken, and so that's why more than ever it's an important year to get out and vote, to exercise your right, to show the government that it's our government, not the career politicians. And I think I'm a candidate who the people see represents that. And so while I do recognize the year that it is, I've really gotten a lot of traction and had a lot of people behind me. Every day I'm getting emails or calls, can we get signs? I'd like to talk to my neighbors about you. Can I get some information? So I feel very positive. We are a grassroots campaign. I have no consultants behind me. The consultants are the people of the 108th. What I stand for is what they stand for. I have nobody telling me, look, this is the way you should craft a message or try to spin it this way. I try to be as upfront as I can, tell people when I'm asked a question really how I feel, whether it's politically correct or is political fodder for the other side. I think people want to see a candidate who stands for the issues, and I do that. And so I see no reason to have a political consultant backing me.